All right. Well, thank you. Uh, I appreciate that too. So, as I go through the information tonight, and let's see if I can switch over here to share my screen. You guys going to release it so I can go?
Yeah, you should be good.
Okay.
And then if they have questions, let's use the Q&A screen, and then Mike will be paying attention to your Q&A. Don't use the
Uh,
chat
yeah,
screen.
yes, please. And so if you
What you're
use the
saying was,
Q
yeah,
and yeah, if you use the
for sure.
question and answer tab, I'm going to see it. If you don't use the question and answer tab, I won't see it, but I will see it. I've got two screens. That's why you see me kind of turning my head over here once in a while. But if you do have a question, please go ahead and ask a question, and I'll do my best to answer it. But make sure that you only use the question and answer tab and not the other one, which was I don't know what the other one is. Chat. Don't use the chat tab because I'm not watching chat. But let's go ahead and get started. Tonight, I want to talk about the elections and the economy. What is it that we can do as investors in the stock market that can help us make some money, and probably some things that your portfolio manager won't do for you, at least not immediately in the stock market, because you're just one of 800,000 people at that firm that they might have, and you're kind of down the list based on the size of your portfolio. So, what are some of the things we can do? And just like Don said earlier, as we kind of get into this, we're not endorsing anybody. This is not anybody. There's no political party that we're saying here's the one that we want to win, or why they're going to win, or which ones we want to go, or anything we're looking at for securities. I'm not doing any type of recommendations. I'm just simply talking about what can we as individual investors expect if one party or the other party wins the election. How might that affect the economy? And then what do we need to do to be able to prepare for that? That's really what I want to talk about tonight. All right. So why do we even want to consider some of the election results? And by the way, as I go through these, um, there's no reason to send me an email if you said, "Hey, Mike, you forgot to put a period at the end of this one over here, or you didn't do a comma, or you misspelled the word." I don't. It's okay if you focus on that. You're missing the point here. I typed up this PowerPoint pretty quickly here, spending most of the time on what we need to do, not so much on my housekeeping for the actual slides. So don't worry about that. If I make a mistake on that, you'll still kind of get the item through here. But why do we want to consider the election results? And it's really fairly simple. Whoever wins is going to have an impact on policies that affect potential corporate profits. Those who control the House and the Senate will also be watched closely, as it will help deter future president policies. So here's what that means. If, let's say, and again, I'm not endorsing one side or the other, I'm just using examples, and I'll use both side examples through here. Let's say a Republican wins, which would be Trump for the White House, but both the House and the Senate are controlled by Democrats because maybe they win going forward in this election coming up. Well, that'll make it difficult for whoever is in office to actually pass any bills, or vice versa. So if Kamala Harris wins, but the Republicans win the House and the Senate, again, it'll make it difficult for anybody to pass any bills. So we're probably not going to have any type of huge economy gains. Stock market probably won't do very well because there's going to be too much internal strife, and no real policies are going to be passed because each side's just going to say, well, we don't like who's in power. So no matter who it is, we're just going to filibuster and make sure it doesn't go through. So really what we need to make sure that this happens is that whoever wins the president, they control at least the House or the Senate, one of the two. If not both, would be even better for that. But there needs to really be at least two out of the three. So you need to have the president and the House, or the president and the Senate, or vice versa, whichever way we're kind of going through that. Both sides have outlined, both Kamala Harris's campaign and ex-President Trump's campaign, Donald Trump's campaign. Both sides have outlined radically different visions of America's economic future, with major implications for the rest of the world. So we want to know, what are they thinking about doing? Because if they win, they will start to create policies which will then affect certain sectors of the stock market. So let's kind of go through that. And now, these, as I'm coming through here, are very simplistic views. I mean, we can go back and you can say, okay, well, let's go back through each report for each policy report that's come out, and whatever years. Was it the first year of somebody winning the White House, or was it the second, third, or fourth year going into the election type of stuff? These are very simplistic views. So don't be upset because I'm overly simplifying this, just so that we can move forward with it. Typically, simplistic views. Democrats are often seen as the party of proactive government spending, favoring policies that redistribute wealth through taxation. Republican, and now if you're a Democrat, don't get upset. And if you're Republican, don't get upset. I'm just saying, again, these are simplistic views. We have to start someplace, and then we'll we'll kind of dive down into it. Republicans, on the other hand, have a reputation as business-friendly party of small government, favoring more passive policies with lower tax rates. Again, these ideas are investors' heads. Whether they're true or not, this is typically what most investors think about when they're thinking about one party or the other. So if we know that Democrats are maybe taxing more, but redistributing the wealth, how will that affect the economy, and what sectors of the economy will do well as they redistribute the wealth? And if Republicans, on the other hand, are business friendly with smaller government, tax cuts, how will that favor the economy, and what sectors will that do? So we don't want to say that this is 100% accurate. And as of, you know, first week in November, after the election is done and we find out who actually wins the election, we can't put this to use as in day one. We have to make sure that what we're talking about here actually works. Can I explain what passive policies are? Passive policies are ones that let me think of a good example of a passive policy. Passive policies would just be ones that are kind of anecdotal. So if I say that we're going to cut the corporate tax rate down to 21 or from 21% to 15%, which is one of the things that Donald Trump wants to do, what other things will go along with that that's not directly because of that? The actual policy would be, let's cut the tax rate down, but what else will that affect at the same time? That would be a passive policy. So it would be a side hinge of that. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what I'm talking about. All right. So simplistic views. A Democratic win is not likely to boost the markets. So if Kamala Harris wins and she takes control of the House or the Senate, I mean, obviously they have one right now, but let's say that we get 2 out of the 3 Democrats, not we Democrats and not we Republicans, but Democrats win, it's not really likely to boost the markets currently. And the reason for that is because we currently have Democratic control at this point of time. So everybody kind of knows what's about to happen going forward. She does have some different views where she said, I don't agree with everything President Biden's done. She has her own views on things. But we aren't going to expect too much of a difference if we find out that coming, up after the election here, that Kamala Harris wins. We're not expecting too much difference in the stock market. It'll probably continue to do whatever it's done for at least the first month after the election. And the reason for that, nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen. And she's probably not going to come out on day one and start saying, we're going to start changing all of these policies and we're going to do everything day one, because she's already in a Democratic controlled area right now. And so the policies will start to come slowly as they kind of come through there. So if the Democrats win, don't expect too much different than what we have in the current markets going on right now. Now, there will be some sectors that will specifically take off right away, but don't expect the markets to have a huge rally right off the bat if the Democrats win. So just expect kind of whatever we're doing now. We'll have some ups, we'll have some downs, we'll have some ups and some downs, but there'll be specific sectors of the markets that should take off. And we're going to cover what those sectors are. So again, simplistic views. A win by the Republicans could give the markets a boost. So if the Republicans win, we should see the markets actually get a bit of a boost right off the bat, unlike if the Democrats win. And the reason for that, the Democrats are already controlling what's out there right now. So we shouldn't expect too much different. Republicans, on the other hand, would be a little bit different because, now we're going to have different economic policies coming out. So this could give the markets a boost. And the reason for that is that most equity fund managers, people who manage those trillions and trillions of dollars of your 401ks and your IRAs and your corporate finances they have. So all of these equity fund managers, most of them are right-leaning, which means they're a little bit more to the right, which means that they could influence the markets with their buying if they believe that their candidate would be good for the equity markets. And currently, most fund managers believe Trump would be better for the equity markets, not the whole economy, but for the equity markets than Kamala Harris. So a win by the Republicans could give the markets a boost because most equity fund managers are right-leaning. Now, if they're right-leaning and they think, oh, okay, well, if we're going to now have reduced taxes and we're going to have more money being able to put into corporations are going to make more profits, well, they're going to go out and they're going to start buying. And so they're going to start buying more and more and more, which will give the stock markets a boost. So that's the first part. And again, these are very simplistic views. So we don't go out and say, okay, who won right after the election? Who just won? You're going to give it at least a week or so to find out what's happening, let everything kind of settle down, and then see what happens to the markets. And then we can go back and start to use what we're looking at right now. We're going to be able to put it to use, but give it about a week after the election, at least a week before we decide what am I going to go ahead and start moving into. So with a Democratic win, some of the things that could happen, and again, simplistic view, but we have to have a starting point here. So increasing tax on corporations. So that's one of the things that are expected to do. If the Democrats win, they're expected to increase taxes on corporations. And Kamala Harris has already said she wants to raise the tax on corporations. So what would that do to the stock market if we start raising taxes on corporations? Anybody? Go ahead and type up what we think that might happen. And again, we just have to have an idea of how we're going to move forward. Now, although that could be negative on the markets, yep, ouch is correct, John, ouch is correct, but it doesn't mean that every sector of the market is going to be bad. It's kind of like saying, oh, the car industry is going bad, but are there still really good cars being built? Yeah. Home industry is bad, but are there still really good pockets of homes? Yes. So there's always going to be something we can do no matter what happens. So if we increase taxes on corporations, that would have a little bit of a negative effect on the overall markets. However, she's also said that she wants to give tax credits for first-time home buyers. Okay, well, if we give tax credit for first-time home buyers, what does that mean? That means that some of the housing stocks, and I've got written a few of them down over here on the right-hand side, so if you want to write these down or take a picture of this or whatever you want to do, or just rewatch the recording that Don and Kendall are going to send out to you, some of the bigger housing stocks, PHM, KBH, and TMHC are three of the bigger housing stocks. So if she gives a housing credit to, and by the way, some of these items are going to be on both the Democratic win side and they're going to be on the Republican win side. So those are some of the sectors you really want to pay attention to, and home buyers are going to be one of those sectors. So one of the things that Kamala said she wants to do to make housing a little bit more affordable is give a tax credit for first-time home buyers. Well, that would be good for the housing markets. And if it's good for the housing markets, it'd be good for the housing home builders. So if Kamala wins, we can expect to see stocks like PHM, KBH, and TMHC start to rise going forward. So that might be an area like, okay, well, I want to be able to go out and check out those stocks. Defense stocks, perhaps more via moderate-sized townhomes, could be that too. Yep. Defense stocks will probably go up. And the reason for that is that currently, you kind of see what's going on right now. We are spending a lot of money and we're sending it overseas. Right now, that money is being sent overseas defense stock wise. And so we'll probably keep on spending money for the defense stocks, and we'll be putting billions and billions and billions of dollars out there, hundreds of millions of dollars at a time. And we're sending it overseas to different countries. So you already seen what's been happening with that and kind of what our defense spending is. And so even though we're giving it away, we're still building it here. So defense stocks will probably continue to rally and continue to stay strong if Kamala Harris wins. So that would be some of the stocks like XAR, LDOS, CW. There's some other ones out there, but these are three of the bigger ones right now that are not looking too terribly. Green energy stocks. She's talked about over and over and over, green energy. So what do we want to do? We want to make sure that people are driving electric cars. We want to make sure people are using solar power. We want to make sure people are using hydrogen power, make sure people are using wind, things like that. So some of the green energy stocks. How much DEI will be involved with Harris win? I don't know at this point. So it just depends. And so even if Harris wins, some of the DEI stocks, there's going to be states that don't include with the DEI that don't want to go with it. So you'll be kind of a mixed bag right there with the DEI. So it could be a little bit, I don't know, Walter, so I don't have a correct answer for that one. As an example, I know here in my state where I live in here, which is Florida, Florida has said that even though DEI is out there, we refuse to buy into or put any of state of Florida's money into any companies that work with DEI in their funds. And so there's always going to be states that are going to do that. So that's why I say it's going to be kind of back and forth. So I don't really have a good answer for DEI. Green energy stocks, NEE, obviously things like Tesla, First Solar, FSLR, and FLNC. These are all stocks that are going to do well. So these are certain sectors that will do well if Kamala Harris wins based off the policies that she's already been talking about. Lithium would probably be one of those as well, John. Absolutely. Healthcare stocks. So if we start to redistribute some of that money and we start to maybe make sure that people have proper healthcare or healthcare that they want, or mandate healthcare for everybody, whatever it might be, healthcare is one of those big issues. Some of the companies you're going to look for are XLV, TGTX, and some of the bigger corporations that are hospital companies type of items, but healthcare will do well. And so if you don't know what you're after and you want to just trade the entire sector, you can just trade XLV. Now, XLV is the entire sector for healthcare. So it's one stock like a mutual fund, but it has about 100 different large healthcare companies in it as just one individual item. XAR, for instance, is the defense stocks as one individual. These are called ETFs. If you're not familiar with them, it stands for exchange traded funds. But think of it just like a mutual fund. It's like a big mutual fund, but it has all the big major defense stocks in. So if you don't know which defense stock you want, then you're just looking at the one that trades all of them at one time, which is XAR. And if you're looking at healthcare, you're looking at XLV, and that's one particular stock that trades all of the large healthcare stocks in one particular stock. So think of it like a mutual fund that trades like a stock. So maybe if you don't know which ones you're after, you can go back and do XLV. I'm going to show you some other ways to find some of these good ones as well. Yep. And what's nice about that is ETFs. Again, an ETF is just a mutual fund that it trades like a stock. So just think of it as a mutual fund, but it trades on the stock exchange and it's optionable, which has huge benefits. I don't have enough time in this class to really talk about that, but they're huge for those of you who know what they are. So you might just say, hey, I want XLV. Some of the infrastructure stocks. So for instance, I know the Biden administration has already talked about putting over $1 billion back into building roads and bridges, things like that, are to build our infrastructure back in the United States. So different freeways, highways, things like that. And so infrastructure stocks. And so if you want just the ETF that tracks all of them, you're looking at the ticker symbol PAVE. So this would just be one ticker symbol, but it trades all of the really big infrastructure stocks. And so you may also look at Vulcan Materials, VMC, Weyerhaeuser, WY, and CRH. Those are all three other really big companies that are in the infrastructure space. So these are three particular type of stocks. But if you want, again, just trade, hey, I just want to trade the entire sector without having to go back and find out what are the best stocks out there, you're looking at just one ticker symbol, which is PAVE. Now, if I pull it up here, and I'll just kind of pull some of those up on our chart so you can see those. Let me move this one here over to here and then make sure that I'm showing you that screen. Let's go here. Okay, so now hopefully you'll see my screen here, which is a stock screen. I'm just on my website. Website is incometrader.com. But if I just type up the ticker symbol PAVE, and there's one ticker symbol. Whoops, I got to log back in. You don't use it for 45 minutes, it logs you out. All right, so I'm going to type in the ticker symbol PAVE, and we'll pull up a chart. And so here's just one individual chart, just one chart that trades over 100 different infrastructure stocks. So instead of saying, hey, what are the best ones out there like Vulcan Materials, VMC, and some of the other ones, why don't I just trade one ticker symbol is PAVE, that has over 100 of all of these really large infrastructure stocks in it. So that way you don't have to worry about which one should I buy, because you're buying the one big one that has all of them. It's like saying, hey, instead of buying one house, why don't I buy an apartment building? Because that way, if someone moves out or I have any issues, I've got a whole bunch of other ones that are still paying the rent. So you might be interested in something like these. Okay. On the site, will the happy little trader guy say almost good, bad ETFs, John? Yeah, they won't for the ETFs now. They will just only for stocks. So here's what he's talking about. So if I said maybe you're looking at for infrastructure stocks, because again, the Biden administration has already said they plan to spend over $1 billion rebuilding America's infrastructure. Well, there's going to be, obviously, if it's over $1 billion, there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to make some money off of that. So if I pull up things like Vulcan Materials, ticker symbol here is VMC, and I scroll down beneath the stock chart, you can see that this is just listed as kind of an average stock. So fundamentally, the stock is average. And all that really means is, for those of you who are brand new that are watching me tonight, think of doing a home inspection on a house. And the very first thing you do is you just put a home inspector on them. They check the roof, they check the windows, they check the foundation, they check the plumbing, they check for mold, they check for damage. It's a home inspection. They make sure the house is a good, solid house before you make an offer to buy it. Well, that's the same thing here on the stock. It's called fundamental analysis, where you say, is the stock overvalued? What are the valuation ratios? What are the potential growth ratios for the stock? When it does have earnings every quarter, how well do they do? What are the estimates? What's the financial strength? Do they actually make any money? Excuse me. It's the same thing as a home inspection. So if we say a stock over here is listed as an average stock, it just means, hey, it's not a bad stock. It's not a good one. It's just kind of an average stock. But I prefer a better stock, but an average isn't bad. It's like, hey, I did a home inspection, everything passed, but you're probably gonna have to replace the roof in the next 2 or 3 years. Okay. So, but everything else looks really good. All right. So then do you want this house or not? I don't know. Well, if I have 2 houses I'm looking at, and I'm looking at another house and needs nothing, well, I might choose the other house before I chose an average house. So, John, no, it won't be there for ETFs, exchange traded funds. It's only there for just the individual stocks. go back to our screen here. All right. And again, so if you're looking at this for the first time here, maybe just take a picture of this screenshot that I have here right now. But these are some of the stocks that'll probably do better, infrastructure stocks. So if you want to say, hey, why don't I just buy the ticker symbol XAR, the ticker symbol XLV, and the ticker symbol PAVE, and you only have those three stocks in your portfolio, you're probably pretty well rounded on a Democratic win with Kamala Harris, because you know that those are the big areas that the money's going to be going to during her presidency, during while she's president, as long as she also controls at least the Senate or at least the House. And so those would be areas, hey, these ones are probably going to be the areas that she puts money towards, which means that those companies will make a profit, which means that those stocks will go up because institutions will want to buy those stocks. And so if the institutions are going to buy them, I want them to. Probably some of the areas that won't do very well will be stocks like traditional energy, things like ExxonMobil, things like that. Probably won't do so well because they want to push more energy towards green energy and not towards traditional energy. So some of the sectors that might head down would be traditional energy stocks and maybe just the ticker symbol XLE, which is the ETF. And again, ETF is a mutual fund that trades like a stock. So it trades the whole sector. So instead of finding individual stocks, I trade the whole sector at one time. And probably the financial sector, because there'll probably be a lot more regulations going into the financial sector with a Democratic win. And so the financial sector, the ticker symbol will just be XLF. But here you can look at Goldman Sachs, you can look at JP Morgan, so, any of the big financial companies that are out there will probably not do as well if Kamala Harris wins. It doesn't mean they won't do well. It just means they won't do as well as some of the other areas where they will put the money towards. So if we have regulations that kind of handcuffs the financial sector, but we actually have no regulations and money's going into green energy, healthcare, infrastructure, those would be the areas I want to make sure that my money is going towards. And by the way, if you have somebody who's managing your portfolio right now, you've got a 401k or you've got an IRA and you've got a fund manager, these are things that you want to take a look at and say, hey, what is it that I have? And if you don't know what you have, ask them. You get your quarterly statement or monthly statement and just say, hey, if the Democrats win and you got some banking stocks, you might not want to have some of the banking stocks. I'm not saying they won't do well, but they probably won't do as well. And you might say, hey, I want some of these different types of stocks. I want green energy, healthcare, infrastructure, and some of the defense stocks, and maybe some of the home builders, because those are probably where most of the money is going to go to in a Democratic election with a Democratic win. Don't you need to win both the House and the Senate to get policies approved easier for the president? Yeah, if you can get all three of those, Steve, it'd be fantastic. But as long as you get the president and the House, or the president and the Senate, it's going to be a little bit easier to pass some of the things that you want passed. Because as long as you can get let's say that Democrats get two, president and the House, or president and the Senate, whichever one it's going to be, as long as you can get one of those passed, either the House or the Senate, if the other one is so close, let's say that it's like, instead of 50-50, it's like 49-51, you're right on the border, you're always going to get one or two Democrats or one or two Republicans that will cross the aisle because they think it's a better deal, or one or two Democrats that will cross the aisle because they think it's a better deal. So as long as it's close, you're still going to be able to get all three, as long as it's not drastic, like, 70% are one party and 30% is the other party type of thing. So obviously, yep, Steve, all three would be fantastic. But it's not often you get all three. So as long as you get two out of the three, it's at least a start. By the way, if you do get all three, whatever the president wants to pass is going to pass. It's going to make it really, really simple. So with that, and if you do see Democrats get all three, the stock market will probably get a little bit of a rally right off of that. And it'll start to kind of settle down. Or if you see the Republicans get all three, you'll probably get a rally right off of that as well. So if the Republicans win, there are some things that Donald Trump's already said he was going to do. For instance, he wants to increase tariffs on imported goods. He's already talked about it, bringing back jobs to America, and he wants to increase tariffs so that most of the items aren't coming from other countries in the United States. He wants to make sure that they're being made by Americans, part of the Republican policies. So any company that imports a lot from other countries will probably not do as well. So for instance, retail like Target imports a lot of stuff from China. If the Republicans win, it'll probably have a negative impact on Target within the very first week, because Trump's already said he's going to start to increase those tariffs. General Motors, which is a nice American company, you think, why would that go down? Well, we make a lot of cars in Mexico right now, and President Trump's already said he wants to have at least a 2,000% increase on imported goods coming from Mexico in the United States. So even though GM's a American company, they make a lot of cars in Mexico. Trump has already said he wants to put some huge increased tariffs on anything coming in from Mexico. So with what areas will probably do well with the Republican win? Donald Trump's also said he wants to expand tax benefits. Well, if you're expanding tax benefits, which means that you're trying to cut taxes, that's going to be generally good for what? If we have tax benefits and you cut taxes, I'm not talking long term, I'm not talking through the entire 4 years of the presidency. Initially, that will help the stock market or hurt the stock market. Anybody have any ideas on that? This is where you could just type something in the question and answer tab, and I would say yep or no. Nobody has anything? Well, if you have tax cuts, what does that mean? People are going to have more money to spend. Well, if they have more money to spend, we're a little bit strange here in the United States here. We are what's called a retail economy. It means when Americans have money, they spend it. They don't like to save it, they spend it. And so if you have tax cuts, which means you have more money, it means that we'll probably spend more money. And if we spend more money, that means that companies will actually have to make more products. And if companies have to make more products, that means they will hire new employees. If new employees are being hired, they're going to have jobs, which means they're going to spend money. And so it's kind of a boost, and it kind of goes forward right off the bat. So that's generally good short term. Now, it could increase inflation. So we'll talk about that here in just a second as well. But short term, if President Trump comes out, I keep calling President Trump just because of the past thing, ex-president Donald Trump, if he wins and the Republicans win and have at least the House or the Senate, because you don't know which side could flip-flop back and forth based off the election coming up. Short-term be good for the economy. And if it's good for the overall economy, there's the ticker symbol SPY. Now, SPY is the one ticker symbol that has all 500 stocks of the S&P 500 in it as one individual ticker symbol. So if the Republicans win, you probably want to go out and buy the ticker symbol SPY because the entire stock market in one individual stock. So probably what you're after. He's also said he wants to decrease the corporate taxes. This would be from a C corporation, but decrease corporate taxes from 21% to 15%. That means companies will pay less taxes, which means companies will make more profit. If companies make more profit, that makes their stock more valuable, which makes the stock market go up. So again, if the Republicans win, again, what do we want? You could go out and look for 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 15 good stocks, or you just say it's going to be good for the entire stock market. I just want to buy the entire stock market and be diversified. So I don't want to make sure that I'm not going to buy the wrong one. So instead of buying the wrong 1 or 2 stocks, I'm just going to buy the whole market. And again, the ticker symbol would be SPY. Donald Trump's also said he wants to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. Okay, well, if you're old and you're retired and you're on Social Security and you don't have to pay any more taxes on that, that means you have more money to spend. Obviously, the more money we spend, better for the economy short term. So again, ticker symbol SPY. So right off the bat, if the Republicans win, the first thing you're after is saying, I probably just want to own the ticker symbol SPY. Now, I also like to trade the ticker symbol SPLG. It's just a little bit less expensive. So instead of being a few $100s, it's under $100 stock that you can go back and buy. And the ticker symbol is SPLG, Standard & Poor's little guy, SPLG. So either one of those, instead of SPY, could be SPY or SPLG for any one of those three. So Republican win could mean expanding tax benefits, short-term good for the economy. Republican win, Donald Trump's already said he wants to decrease corporate taxes from 21 to 15. As a business owner, I can tell you, I would like that as a business owner. Any business owners out there that would be upset if you had to pay less taxes? Probably not too many of you. And if you're retired and you're going to have a limited tax on Social Security, and again, that would just be ticker symbol SPY or SPLG. Now, some of the sectors that might do well with a Republican win are energies, material. Now, this isn't green energy. This is be like regular energy. And I'm going to go back and talk about stocks in each one of these. So let me go back through here. Energy. Some of the companies, if you say, hey, I don't really know which energy stock to buy, well, then you buy the one ticker symbol, which is XLE, and it trades over 120 different stocks in the energy sector. So you could just trade just one, or you could trade BKR, CEIX, SLB, Schlumberger, FANG, ExxonMobil, XOM. These are some of the stocks will probably do well because the energy sector is taking a little bit of a hit right now because there's lots of regulations from the Democrats that are in power right now. They put lots of regulations that kind of stifle energy drilling, things like that, that don't make it as easy as it could be. So if Republicans win, they might remove all of those restrictions, which makes it easier for all of these big energy stocks now to start making some money. So it's kind of reversing what's out there. So if you don't know what stocks to buy, you might just be after the one that trades over 120 stocks in that sector, which is just XLE. So let's go back and see it, or something like BKR. So let's pull up BKR, and I'm just going to go back to our website here, and let's go here, share, and I'm going to pull up BKR, ticker symbol BKR. All right, so this is Baker Hughes. Now they're a drilling company, so they drill, looking for oil, that kind of stuff. So anytime we're taking a look at a stock on our website, the very first thing that comes up is just name of the company and what price they're trading at right in through here. Beneath that is a 5-day chart and then a 6-month chart. So right here, I'm looking at a 6-month chart. Here's where the stock was 6 months ago. And let's just draw on here a little bit. Okay, so here's where the stock was 6 months ago, and here's where the stock is today. All right, so you can see over about the past 6 months, we've had a little bit of a sideways market, and then as soon as we found out that perhaps Joe Biden's not going to be in the marketplace anymore and Kamala Harris is going to run, we thought that might be actually some pretty good news for the Republican side, and so the stock market's actually been in an uptrend. And the reason for that, believe it or not, like I said before, most of the financial money managers are right-leaning, which means they're a little bit more Republican than they are Democratic. Not all of them, but the majority of them are. And because of that, if they honestly believe that Donald Trump will win the election, they're starting to buy some of these stocks ahead of time. And that's why you've seen some of the Republican type stocks I'm talking right now have already starting to increase because they believe that the Republicans are going to win. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, and I'm not going to predict what's going to happen or not. All I know is I can have an idea of, hey, if the Democrats win, here's what I'm going to go back and do. If Republicans win, here's what I'm going to go back and do. Why then defense goes up regardless of Trump or Kamala? That's a good question, Elena. The reason for that, and I'm going to kind of come back down to that, is that Republicans always like to have a strong military. And so whenever Republicans are in power, they actually allocate a lot of money to go towards military defense contracting type of stocks. And so they always want to say, hey, we want the strongest military out there. We want the best tools out there. Republicans have a history of always doing something like that. So they'll do well if the Republicans win, defense stocks will win. Well, currently, based off of the tensions we're having right now over Ukraine, Russia, and in the Middle East with Israel, we are currently giving a lot of support to those two wars. Because we're giving currently support to those two wars, that means that we're producing these military weapons, of whatever you want to call them, and then we're producing them, which is good for defense stocks, and we're giving them, selling them, giving them whatever you want to talk to overseas to those two conflicts out there. So as long as those two conflicts are still out there, with the Democrats are in power, why would we expect the Democrats to change anything that they're already currently doing? Well, it would be good for the defense stocks. And so because if there weren't any type of wars out there right now, if the Democrats won, I wouldn't expect the defense stocks to do very well. However, if there weren't any wars out there, I would expect defense stocks to do well if Republicans win, because they continue to spend on defense year after year after year after year after year. So because the two wars are already out there and the Democrats are already providing tools and military tools to those two wars are out there, that means our companies that are defense stocks are making products and they're making profits. And so that's why, regardless of which one wins, Eleanor, it's a good question, but it's only because of the current two wars that are out there right now, which is why defense stocks are doing well currently. If the two wars weren't out there, I wouldn't expect the defense sector to do well if the Democrats win. But that's the reason why. All right. So you're seeing a lot of stocks right now that are Republican type of stocks, meaning that if the Republicans win, they're already starting to head higher because a lot of the fund managers are already trying to buy into the fact, hey, if Donald Trump wins, these are sectors that are going to do well. And so they actually believe that he's already ahead right now. So they're already starting to buy. And you're seeing a lot of these type of stocks, Republican stocks already making a move. You're not seeing a whole bunch of that right now on the green energy side or even the healthcare stocks, but healthcare stocks look awful right now. So you're not seeing that happening over on the healthcare sides of green energy. But you're seeing some of the potential Republican win stocks that are already starting to move higher. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if Republicans are going to win. I don't know if the Democrats are going to win. And I'm not going to predict it and buy in ahead of time. I will wait for one party or the other to actually win. I will wait about a week for all of the messiness to kind of settle down, and then I'll put to use those two slides we were just looking at, the Democratic slide or the Republican slide, based on whichever one's out there. But here we're taking a look at BKR. So whatever you're taking a look at, whatever you say, hey, I'm after, the energy stocks, maybe XLE, which is the whole energy sector. And you say, when do I want to go back and when do I want to buy some of these? Let's clear off all this out through here. First thing I take a look at if I'm thinking about buying it is I'm just going to pull up the ticker symbol. So if we go back here to where we were just at and share my previous screen, which is here, share. We got XLE, which is the whole sector, BKR, CEIX, SLB, Schlumberger, FANG, XOM. Let's say we're looking at BKR, right? And you're not familiar with what to look at or when should you actually buy. I'm going to give you the hints. So these are the things that will probably do well with a Republican win, but when do you buy? So we can go back and say, these are the things that will probably do well with a Democratic win, but when do you buy? You don't just buy because the Democrats win. You still have to buy at the right time. So what is the right time? Let's go back and take a look. So let's start over here with BKR and just say, what are some of those buy signals that I should actually be taking a look at? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look and just say, I'm just going to pull up a ticker symbol like we did here, and I'm just going to type it into the website, BKR. Now you can use Yahoo or MSN Money, but you're not going to have all the same signals I'm about to show you because we've got some really cool proprietary features on the website that I've created when I built the website. So the very first thing you do when you pull up the ticker symbol, and I've already listed those out there on the previous screen for you, when you see the ticker symbol, just type it in. Now, the first thing that comes up is a 6-month chart. So the chart we're looking at right into here right now is just a 6-month chart. This would be 6 months ago, way over here. And let me draw on it to make it easier for you to see. This would be 6 months ago here, and here it is today right over here. So the first thing I want to do is just say, which way is the stock moving? Is the stock moving up, down, or sideways? So you just go from the far left where it was 6 months ago to today's closing price, which is right over here, and say, which way is that red line going? If it's going up, that's a stock I want. I actually want to own a stock that's moving higher. Now, we could be in some stocks or some healthcare stocks that have just been looking horrible lately. And so you say, well, almost all those healthcare stocks are in a nice downtrend. I don't want to buy any of those. So what would be the second signal that I would look at to tell me maybe a stock was in a downtrend, but how do I know when it's starting to change direction? Good question. How might the election impact the Canadian market sectors? Really good question through here. You're going to find out that a lot of the Canadian stocks, even though Canadians are a little bit more to the left than the United States is, a lot of things that are going to happen in the Canadian markets are going to be followed with whatever we do here in the United States, because whether you want to like it or not, Canada always goes back and follows the U.S., always a little bit later, but their policies usually follow what the U.S. goes out and does, although they're already a little bit further to the left than the United States is at this current time out here. So whatever is going to happen here in the U.S. markets will happen in the Canadian sectors. However, there's always going to be some Canadian sectors that are always going to do better just because they're already a little more Democratic than Republican, even though that's not the terms we're using for Canada. But if the Republicans win, you're going to see the Canadian markets are going to start to probably falter a little bit, because what's out there, you're going to start to see a change, and you're going to see some sell-off, because a lot of the Canadians actually invest in the U.S. markets, and a lot of Canadians use U.S. products. And so you're going to kind of see that start to follow. Not as much as you'll see here in the United States, but it will start to follow. All right, let me erase this. So let's suppose we're taking a look at a stock and I'm saying, okay, well, maybe that stock is currently that I'm taking a look at is maybe just kind of moving a little more sideways. So when do I know I want to buy it? So here's the next thing that we're after. So I want you guys to pay attention to this, because this works for all stocks. Doesn't matter if you're looking at stocks, commodities, futures, options, it doesn't matter what it is, currencies, if you're a currency trader, same kind of rules are going to apply here. So let's erase these. And what I'm going to move down now to is just, I'm going to scroll down here and look at just the last 3 months on the chart. Right now here, it's changed the time frame to 3 months. Now, if I go up, here's what I'm after. I want to know what is called the current trend. And so if I see a stock like this one right in through here, and let's say if I'm looking at my stock, and let's draw on it. draw on it. So it just kind of went up a little bit, went down a little bit, went up, went down, went up, went down. It's kind of just kind of moving more sideways. And then all of a sudden, right about through here, we hit a little bit of a bottom right here and it broke out. And then we started to break out to the upside. We pulled back, rallied, pulled back, and now we're rallying again. Here's what's important. Every time a stock moves, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Stocks trade between what calls a floor and a ceiling. Every time a stock stops dropping, it's called the floor. It just means that's as low as it went before it bounced. It's as low as it went before it bounced, as low as it went before it bounced. So I want to go back now and look on our chart. And all I'm going to have to do now is look at these last red lines. 1, 2, 3. Which way are those red lines going? So stock went down, rallied higher, pulled back, rallied higher, pulled back. Those pullbacks, if you take a look at those last red lines are moving higher. When you see that in a stock, it means your stock is starting to change direction and it's starting to get stronger. So even though you might see the stock overall as just kind of more of a sideways trending stock on here for the last few months, it's kind of just moving sideways. What it's actually doing is it's slowly getting stronger because it pulled back here and then it rallied. And then when it pulled back here and it rallied and it pulled back here. So these two are so close, I just call them the same thing. But think of this now as a stock is walking up the stairs. Here's your first step. Here's your second step. Here's your third step. So if the stock is walking up the stairs, it means you're actually getting stronger and moving up. So if you're looking at a stock and you're thinking, oh, I see all these stocks that Mike wrote down, either from the Democratic win or from the Republican win, but I'm watching them, but they're not heading higher. I wouldn't buy them at heading higher because you're just hanging on to something that's not moving. You don't know if it's ever going to move. But if you can come back now and you can look and see these last 3 red lines, red line 1, 2, 3, if they're moving up and they're getting stronger, I like that stock. It's getting stronger. So it's about now to break above through here and then start a really nice uptrend rally because it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. What are my thoughts of a pullback occurring during the remainder of 2024? Really just depends on who wins the election. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a major pullback between now and the end of the year. I don't think is going to be one now. I think if the Democrats win, I think we're probably going to and they control at least the House or the Senate, and the Democrats win. I think we'll continue to see what we're seeing right now, which is just kind of some slow ups, downs. And so I think we'll probably be a little bit higher at the end of the year. I think if the Republican wins, I think we're going to have a bigger move to the upside, but I don't think we're probably going to see too much of a downtrend between now and the rest of the year, unless there's something happen that I don't know about. So let's say that maybe Donald Trump wins the election, but both the House and the Senate then become Democratic. We could have a pullback because that just means we're going to have lots of gridlock and nobody knows what's going to happen. At that point, we could have some kind of a pullback between now and the end of the year. But barring that happening, I don't think we're probably going to have any major pullback. Do I consider any fundamental analysis on the stock picks? Yep. So here's the first thing I'm after. So the first one I'm after right through here is the stock in an overall uptrend? And if it's not, I want to go back and look at just the last 3 red lines that are on the chart. And if the last 3 red lines are heading higher, I'm good. So let's just pull up another stock on that list here, just so we can go back and see. We had XLE was on here. XLE. So we can kind of just look at the last 3 red lines. Now this would be the ticker symbol that trades the whole energy sector. And which way is this going? This last 3 months, it's kind of moving sideways. But our red lines here are starting to go where? 1, 2, 3. They're kind of slowly starting to move higher. I like that. That means the stock is getting stronger. So I like something like that. Let's look at Schlumberger, SLB, that was on that same list. SLB. Now, if we take a look at this one here, how does this look? So first off the bat, let's look at our 6-month chart. Here's a 6-month chart. What's the overall trend for the last 6 months? It's heading lower. Doesn't look that pretty. Okay, good. So if the Republicans do win and the stock could start heading higher, when would I be interested in it? Well, I want to look at these last 3 red lines here. Let's blow them up. These last red lines. 1, 2, 3. Higher, lower, higher. What I want to see is low, higher, and I want to see another higher red line through here. So if I can see that, I know the stock is slowly gaining momentum, then I would be interested in buying the stock. But if I don't have those last 3 red lines where they're moving higher, I'm not going to buy, even if the Republicans win, because the stock isn't being bought by the big institutions yet. So it just tells me what I want to go back and do. So if I scroll down from here now, next thing I want to just quickly take a look at is if we're looking at all those stocks, I can kind of scroll down and I can see that, oh, well, Schlumberger is a good stock. So all I've done so far is we started off with our list, which was here, and say if the Republican, and I'm just sticking here because it's towards the end of my screen here. If the Republicans win, I might want to be interested in XLE or basic materials, CRS, CBT, H1. These are some of the basic materials because of stronger economy. Utility stocks, regular utility stocks. And so instead of just saying green energy, how about regular utility stocks? Things like XLU. This would be the ticker symbol for the whole utility sector. Real estate, again, the whole ticker symbol for the whole real estate sector is XLRE. So instead of just saying, I want the stock PHM, KBH, these are the home builders. These three stocks here were the home builders, three home builders. But instead of saying, I don't know which stocks, buy the ticker symbol that does the whole sector, XLRE, in one ticker symbol. Defense stocks, again, the same type of thing as these. Again, these would be the same thing. So both of these, real estate and defense, no matter who wins, would be two sectors you want to be into because both of those are going to do well. They're on the Democratic side and they're on the Republican side. So if you're really looking for two sectors you want to spend some time on, those would be two sectors. And so the defense whole sector is XAR. So if you just buy the ticker symbol XAR, it's the whole defense sector. Or if you buy the ticker symbol XLRE, it's the whole real estate sector. So it's like a mutual fund that trades like a stock. So we don't know which ones to buy the ticker symbol XLRE and buy XAR. Finance will probably do well if the Republicans win because they will start to loosen up some of the regulations that are in the financial markets. So ticker symbols like the XLF, which is the entire financial markets, XLF, or individuals like some of the different banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Regions Financial, Bank OZK, things like that. So finance stocks will probably do well because the regulations are usually reduced with the Republicans in there, and that allows the banks to do more and make even more money. Domestic technology stocks. This is an area to kind of be aware of here. Again, Donald Trump has said he wants to put tariffs on things coming in from outside countries. And so if we have stocks that are US-based stocks that are made here in the US and they're not coming in from outsourced, you've got stocks like Oracle, Cisco, INTU, and CRM. Salesforce, CRM. So this is Intuit. They make things like TurboTax, things like that. But these are all stocks that are big US companies that have a lot of their business here in the US. And so these are stocks that will probably do well because they won't have any tariffs on them from technology stocks that are coming in from outside countries. So these are all sectors that are going to probably do really well if the Republicans win and things for you to pay attention to. And so if you just want to trade individual sectors, there's one ticker symbol, XLE, XLU, XLRE, XAR, XLF. Those would be just for the entire finance sector, defense sector, real estate sector. But the two probably pay most attention to would be real estate and defense because those are on both of them. So those are on both items that are out there. So it makes it really easy for you to say, oh, those are two sectors for me to go back and pay attention to because it's going to be hard to mess those up if both the Democrats are going to put money there and the Republicans are going to put money there. So two different sectors for you to kind of go with. So either one of those are great, whichever ways you want to go back with that. These are all some different sectors that are out there. And again, all you really have to do is to go out and do a really quick Google search and say, hey, if the Republicans win, what sectors of the economy will do well? And then if you want to go back and find individual sectors, I'm going to show you how really quick and easy that's going to be. So if you do a quick search and just ask your phone or ask your computer, what sectors of the market will probably do well if the Democrats win, it'll come out and it'll give you some. What sectors of the market will probably do well if the Republicans win in the November election? It'll tell you what sectors to do well. So from there on our website, just go back, click on the link here. It says stock scanner, click on it. And then from here, we just scroll right down and here are the 11 different sectors of the stock market. Consumer staples. What is consumer staples sector? And here's a chart of the whole sector. So you can scroll down. Consumer discretionary. Here's the retail stocks. Here is medical. So you can see if I want to know which ones to trade, XLV is the entire medical sector. So this sector will probably do a little bit better if the Democrats win than the Republicans win. So what stock do I want? Well, I could just go down here and click where it says on the very bottom, what are just the really good stocks in that sector I should be interested in? Or why don't I just trade the entire sector and just trade XLV, the entire sector at one time? Or I can go back down and say, how about basic materials, which will probably do well if the Democrats win, because we'll probably do a lot more infrastructure. So these would be stocks would be in part of your infrastructure. And you just do the XLB for the entire area. Or you could just say, I want to just go back and trade just the good stocks, whichever way that you want to go back. And what are just the better, good quality stocks in there? Or if I want to do construction, or if I want computers and technology, or if I want aerospace, or if I want oils and energy, this would be a sector that would do a little bit better if the Republicans won. So which ones do I want? The whole ticker symbol. If I just click on XLE, this is the entire ticker symbol for the whole market for that. So would I want to buy this one right now? If I'm just taking a look at this, I'm watching my red lines are slowly starting to move up. Might be something I'm interested in. Yeah. How about ETFs that seek dividends impact on the election? Utility stocks that pay high dividends might be something you're into, John. And yeah, and there's a whole sector right down through here, which are just what are some of the ETFs that pay really high dividends? Is be called the income fund ETFs. So you could find those out through there as well. Yeah, that's on the website. But yeah, some of those are out there. So these are just some of the basic things that you want to pay attention to. And so if you want to really know just, hey, what's probably going to happen, on the website, just or on your phone, just ask your phone, what sectors of the marketplace will probably do really well if the Democrats win? And then from that, it'll tell you what sectors. Then just scroll, click on our stock scanner page, click on stock scanner page right here on the top, scroll down the page. Here's your different sectors. If it says consumer staples will do well, okay. Consumer staples will probably do well more so if the Republicans win, because people have more money to spend if they have more jobs. If we're bringing that portion out through there. And so what are some of the better consumer staple stocks? We'll just click here where it says good stocks. And now all the consumer staple stocks that are good quality stocks come up. So for instance, we got PPC, which is Pilgrim's Pride. Okay, well, how does that stock look? Might be something I'm interested into. So now I can kind of go back and do some more research. What stocks am I after? And find out if there's something I'm interested in. But it'll just tell you what sectors to look at. And then from the sectors you want to go back and look at, go back and just say, hey, I want to find out what are some of the really good stocks in the medical sector. What are the good stocks in the medical sector? And so you can click on that and kind of throw out there. So you can either say, I don't want to trade individual stocks. I just want to trade more so I'm more rounded. I want the ticker symbol that trades the entire sector, like a mutual fund, an XLV, or go back and look for good individual stocks. And so I know it's a lot out there, but I only had about an hour to kind of go through all of this. And just so I wanted to show you pretty much what can we expect based off of who wins the election. And I'm not going to tell you who's going to win. I don't know who's going to win. I have my beliefs that I want to win, but that has nothing to do with investing in the stock market, right? So what I do know is whoever does win, I have the ability to make money based on who wins, based off what they've already told us that they're going to do going forward. Now, it doesn't mean that every politician keeps their word, but you're already seeing some of those areas starting to move at this point of time. Do you think the Fed will lower rates more with a Democratic or Republican win? That really comes down to the CPI numbers, Steve. I wish I had an answer for that, but it comes down to CPI. If you'd like to find out more about, how that's going to affect the bond market and how that's going to affect the consumer price and inflation, you'll probably want to log on to the class that Don was talking about first thing. I think it's November 11th or 12th or 13th, whatever it is. I'll be speaking a little bit about how inflation works and how it affects the bond markets and how that affects the overall stock market economy. And I'll be talking about that, I think, on November 13th, which is the last day of the conference, and that's with that one. So if you would like to know more about that, I'll speak for about 45 minutes or so, and I'm specifically going to cover how the bond market and inflation and the jobs report, all that kind of ties into what's out there. So what the Fed will probably do with that. So these are some of the areas that are going to do well if the Republicans win, and these are some of the areas that will do if the Democrats win. So kind of pay attention to them. Don't jump into say, hey, if the Democrats win right off the bat, don't go out and start buying stocks like First Solar and FLNC and NEE. Don't buy these right off the bat. Give it about a week to kind of settle down, and then say, is it already in that overall uptrend like I showed you, or are the last three pullbacks getting higher and higher, which means it's gaining some strength and getting stronger. Now, if you want to find out more about that as well, about how to read a chart, one of the exact buy signals and sell signals, you want to find out more about reading charts, I've got a class come. By the way, it's last part here. Whatever I covered here, this isn't guaranteed. It's just what the expectations are using historical examples for future expectations. So if you really want to find out more about how all that works here, I've got a class coming up here November 23rd and 24th. It's a 2-day class, 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. And I'm going to cover a lot of information about how to use the website, how to locate the best stocks that are out there, what are the best sectors, when exactly do you buy, when do you sell, how to make money, even if the stock market's still going sideways, how do we use that to make some cover calls and bring in a monthly income, whether it's your 401k, your IRA, whether it's a Roth account, a personal account, a corporate account. It doesn't really make a difference at all. But if you want to go to protectwealth.com/stocks, and register. It's a 2-day class coming up. I'll give you a little bit of a home study kit and a tour of the website video before the class happens. So you have a chance to kind of play around. You get immediate access to the website right off the bat. And you get to bring a guest with you to the class. And again, it's a 2-day class. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. It's a 2-day class and free admission for your guest. Website access for 2, and I give you 100% money back guarantee that once you go to that 2-day class, at the very end of the first day, if you say, Mike, I don't like this class, it wasn't what I expected, I'll give you $197 back. You can't even mess it up. You don't even have to tell me why. I will ask you because I want to make sure I'm always doing the best job I can to make all of our students happy. But you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I'm not even going to pressure you for it. So, but 100% money back guarantee. So website access for 2. Date is November 23rd and 24th. I do say it's got limited availability. And the reason for that, every single one of you that signs up for this class here at protectwealth.com/stocks, I'm going to assign you a coach that you're going to work with through those 2 days. So as I'm teaching this class, you actually get to ask questions to me. But if you have something in particular, say, hey, I don't understand what Mike just said. You have a coach that I'm assigning to you in that class that will answer all of your questions. That's just for you. And I don't have 1,000 different coaches. That's why I say there's limited availability. I only have so many coaches for each class. So it's kind of first come, first serve. So it's an online class. It's a Saturday and Sunday. It goes from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. both days on the 23rd and 24th of November. 2-day class. I'm going to give you a training course, a little cover call training course before the class starts, of website access immediately. So you'll get immediate access to the website right off the bat. Website access after your training course is just $24.99 a month, $25 a month, but I'll give you first 2 months free. So you have plenty of time to kind of play around, take the course, all that stuff. And you want to guest at the same time here. So get registered for the class if you like what I'm covering so far, but would like to go a lot more in depth and a lot more in detail. And by the way, in the class, I actually trade live in every class that I do. This is just a preference kind of class for you, but I trade live in every class. So if you already have an account that's opened up and you want to follow some of the trades I do in the class, or if you don't have an account open up, I'll show you specifically during your training class how to open up those accounts and how to make sure you've got them set up properly. But get yourself registered for the class. It's November 23rd and 24th, 2 days. Protectwealth.com/stocks. It's only $197 for both days for you and a guest, with 100% money back guarantee after the first day. So register for class if you like what I've covered so far, but you want to go, hey, I'd like to learn more about this. How can the average person make money on a monthly basis, no matter what happens in the stock market, whether it goes up, down, or sideways, and no matter who wins the election? And then what I like about this, guys, is the stock market is the last personal freedom that'll ever be taken away from us. And I don't care who's in power, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, I don't care. And the reason for that is Wall Street works off of all of our money. So everything Wall Street does is because they have our money. So they're never going to take that away from us. And so it'll be the last personal freedom that ever goes, which means we always have the ability to make money on a monthly or weekly or yearly basis based on how you want to invest. And I'm going to teach you all 3 of those at your 2-day class coming up. So get registered for the class. So Danny, you've attended the class previously and you're currently subscribed to Income Trader. I can attend again. It's $99 for to attend again. For the class. Find the recording for the first class I attended. Will the class be recorded? I don't record the class on that one. And the reason for that, Danny, same thing as before. In that actual class I usually do between 2 and 3 live trades with my own personal money right in front of you to be filled Monday morning. I'll show you the confirmation slips. And then I donate that money to a charity that all of the students pick, the money from those trades that I do. And because it's a beginner class for people who are just getting into it, sometimes if I record it, and it's happened in the past, when I record it and send it out to everybody, they follow us. Oh, Mike liked this trade. And because they're a beginner, they do the same trade that I did in the class. 2 weeks later, not knowing it's not the same thing because they're brand new. Every other class I teach, I record 100% of everything except for this class, but everything else is recorded through that. But good question though. I appreciate it. So register for the class, guys, protectwealth.com/stocks. If you've already been to the class and want to hit it again, it's just $99. Just send us an email and we'll get you registered for that. Otherwise, just go and register at protectwealth.com/stocks. And then hopefully I'll see you guys on the event coming up November 11th, 12th, and 13th with Protect Wealth, and at the class coming up here, which is the 23rd and 24th, a Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. both days. So that's what I got. Kendall, if I want to turn it back over to you or Don, whichever one of you are on, I appreciate the time here. And I'll hang on here a little bit longer here. So if any of you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them while Kendall kind of wraps things up.
Mike, I don't know anybody that's condensed more information into two little slides like you did. This was incredible. Thank you. This was
Thank you.
great information. All right, we looks like what's the email to take the class? Okay,
It's just to go ahead, Don.
oh, you've got it. It's also on the chat screen, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can just go to send it to me directly, mike@incometrader.com.
Okay.
Or if you just go to incometrader.com and click on the very top of the page, it's contact us button on the very top of the page. Or just send an email to Protect Wealth and they'll be able to forward it to me and I'll keep contact with you. Either way, we'll make sure that you get in there either way.
Okay, great. Mike, great information. Students,
Thank
we
you.
are, this class was recorded. We'll send that link to you tomorrow to the recording. And so if you'd like to re-listen to any of this again, and then the summit, if you'd like to register for that, Kendall, will you put that in the chat screen as well, how they register for the 3-day summit? It's November 11th, 12th, and 13th. Mike is usually speaking the second and third days of that class, and great information, Mike. I don't
Okay, thanks, Don.
know.
All right,
You
so
never answered my initial question about who's going to win.
I know who's going to win because I've already spoken to. I'm psychic. No, it doesn't make a difference who wins. I can't control it either way, but I can control how I profit off of no matter who wins, just based off of common sense type of things that are out there. So they've actually made it very easy for us to make money off them because they both have radically different agendas. And so based off of who wins, I already know where each party is going to be pushing their money. If they're going to push their money there, that's where I need to go invest as well, because that's where the profits are going to come from. And it's not just me. If the big institutional investors, hedge funds, pension funds, insurance companies, mutual funds, investment banks, if they know where each of those two candidates are going to push policy to put money at, they're going to start buying those stocks anyway right off the bat. So all I have to do is copy them because they buy in such large quantities. Whatever they buy goes up. And so I can't control who wins. I can control how much money I make off of who wins. So either way, it's a win-win for me financially and you.
Great information. Mike, thank you for being on. We know
Right,
it's
thank
late
you.
on the East Coast. We appreciate you being here. Students, we appreciate you being here. Have we got anything else? Looks like you got some very happy people here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, let's answer a couple more questions.
That's all right. I'll go ahead and start answering. I got a few coming up, so I'll answer these, even though if you might, whatever. I'll finish answering these questions on here.
Okay. Oh, you mean you're going to type in the?
Yeah. So I got Danny here. Why do you think fundamentally solid stocks often perform poorly versus the fundamentals? It's called sector rotation. So you can even have some really, really good fundamentally sound stocks, but if you're out of that rotation, so for instance, retail stocks typically do the best fourth quarter, but they don't always do the best first quarter because you got, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that type of stuff, fourth quarter, and then January, February, March, not as much. So even though you could have a really good stock, it might not do well the very first quarter, Danny. It's called sector rotation. It's like John Deere. When you think John Deere is going to do well, wintertime or springtime? Kind of the same type of thing.
Springtime, sure.
Am I happy or not based on who wins, knowing who wins? I might not be happy with who wins, but I'll be happy financially with whoever wins. And so you control what you can control. Don't worry about what you can't control. What are my thoughts about witching day? I like witching day personally myself as an experienced investor because it creates lots of volatility. The more volatility there is, the more money to be made. Is it time to buy cryptocurrency or is it too risky? At this point, Robert, it's still a little bit too risky. You need to give it at least, for cryptos, at least 2 weeks after whichever party wins to see how it's going to be affected. But crypto slowly moving towards the US markets, more and more so. However, the Fed, I think at some point is going to put a stop to it because the Federal Reserve already has what's called a Fed coin. Just do some research, just type in Fed coin. So the Fed already has its own cryptocurrency. And the reason for that is if it can get rid of all currency that's paper or coin and move everything towards electronic, it can lock up your accounts whenever it wants. It can make sure your taxes are being paid whenever it wants. It can control you however it wants because you don't have any more regular paper. And if the Fed coin comes out, they'll put a stop to all cryptocurrency in the US. And so I don't know if cryptocurrency is the right time to buy or not. If it is, it's just trade it very short term, get your profits, get back out.
Okay.
Okay. That's all I got, guys. Am I favoring weekly or monthly cover calls? I prefer monthly, but sometimes I'll use weeklies if I'm doing diagonals, John.
Cool. All right, Kendall, thank you for being in the background. Students, we'll see you November 11th, 12th, and 13th at the next 3-day summit. Mike,
Yeah.
I'll see you there as well. Appreciate it.
Sounds good, Don. Thanks, Ken. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Thanks for being on and asking questions. Bye-bye.